Good morning, everybody. I hope that you're all feeling well rested and well fed on this first Sunday after Christmas Day. It's been a different Christmas for many of us, what with the difficulties that COVID imposes on traveling and family gatherings. But I hope that each of you have been able to find a little bit of joy in maybe some of the smaller things this Christmas. God has a habit of meeting us in those little places where we least expect to find Him. I think it's pretty evident considering that the salvation of all humanity came to us as this little baby born to an average, nondescript, poor family in Palestine. But maybe you haven't found any joy this Christmas. Just because it's the season where we celebrate the birth of the Son of God doesn't mean that it's a joyful occasion for all of us. I know that many of you have been missing family members, or maybe you've hit hard times as a family or as an individual within your own soul. And I just want to tell you that that's okay if that is you. I'm sure that Mary was really joyful and thankful to give birth to Jesus, but giving birth still hurt, whether he was the Son of God or not. If you've been hurting this Christmas, then know that the Son of God who we celebrate sees you, and he sees your pain. And more than that, he knows your pain, and he has no intention of leaving you to deal with it alone. We all want to see Christmas in visions of red and green decorations and presents under the tree and the love of a family get-together. But the plain truth is that Christmas means different things to different people. For some, it is that joyous occasion of decorating and food and gift-giving and family. But for some, it's lonely or hurtful. It's a time where past wrongs and demons come back to haunt with painful memories. Christmas is a mixed bag of emotions and feelings, and to pretend that one experience is the only experience is to discredit what many people go through. One person's pain can't take away someone else's joy, but one person's joy also can't just take away someone else's pain. And so one of the challenges of Christmas is allowing all of these feelings and emotions, which often seem as if they're competing, to coexist together in the same space, to let the joy and the pain live together. And that may seem completely irrational to our minds because we're so used to dealing in what's black and white 24/7. But I know that each and every one of you have experienced something like this. If you played sports growing up and you felt the joy of completing a season and having given your best effort all season long, but at the same time, you probably felt the sadness of knowing that you wouldn't be playing again until the next year, or ever if you were graduating. If you've ever moved to a new place for a job, then you felt the joy and excitement of a new chapter of life, while at the same time, you felt the pain of leaving the life that you had known for so long. If you've ever lost a loved one who was sick or in pain, then you felt the joy of knowing that they weren't in pain anymore, while at the same time you missed them more than anything in the world. And you just weren't sure how you were going to live life without their presence. So much of our lives are lived in ambiguity. And we try to ignore that fact sometimes by pretending that we have a handle on everything. But the truth is that many situations come around that our black and white ways of thinking just can't make any sense of. That's how most of this year has gone. Since COVID-19 began spreading back in March, this year has been one big, long exercise in ambiguity for each and every one of us. Maybe you were sent to work from home, and that meant you could spend more time with your family, save on gas, get some rest that you might have needed. But it also could have been hard having to coordinate things or do your work from a distance. Or maybe you were an essential worker and work actually became harder and more intense than it ever had before. If you had kids who had to come home from school, then maybe you were really happy to have them around the house for more family time. But maybe it was also really, really hard to figure out educating from home, and really, really hard to have everyone under the same roof all the time, every single day. And if you had to come home from school, I know it was probably a bit of a relief not having to wake up so early and get to school so early in the morning and deal with all of the anxieties that come along with being in school. But I also know that you probably missed your friends and you missed all the activities that you got to do at school. And if you're retired, then you might have enjoyed having the rest of your family who are usually at school or work being around more often. But maybe you also worried about what a virus meant for your medical care or doctor's visits moving forward. And I know that each and every one of you has been living in the ambiguity of church during this pandemic. I've been thankful for Roseland's response to the pandemic to leave our building in the interest of protecting our communities and to help mitigate the spread of this virus as much as possible. But I've missed Sunday worship and all of our other gatherings more than anything this year. And I know that each and every one of you probably echo that feeling. And all of that I just said was back in March and April. And we're at the end of December now, and all of those feelings and situations have gotten a lot more complicated and even more ambiguous over the months. This has been a hard year, emotionally and physically and financially and socially, and a whole bunch of other LY words that we could throw in there. And now we're at the end of December, and it looks as if we're still in for it for a while longer. We're still looking down the barrel of a time full of ambiguity and uncertainty. And some of us are beginning to feel like we're not sure how much more of it we can take. You've probably figured out by now that I don't really have a sermon for you all this morning. I sat down to read the scriptures and start writing, but everything that came to me just felt so flat and uninspired and like it wasn't worth saying. And that happens from time to time, and that's okay. But I wanted to have something amazing and profound and inspiring to tell you all this first Sunday after Christmas Day, the season where we celebrate Jesus' birth and think about all of the amazing, inspiring, joyful things that come along with it. But then I realized that maybe this isn't a Sunday for us to just talk about joyful, amazing, inspiring things. Maybe this is a Sunday for us to rest in the ambiguity of this Christmas, to rest in the ambiguity of this whole year. And so I confess, I don't have a sermon for you this morning, but I do have some things that I want to say. I know this year has been hard. Life in general is hard, but this year especially. And part of the reason it's been so hard is because it has at times felt like church has been taken away. When life is hard and things are challenging, we're used to being able to lean on church. The singing, the fellowship, the in-person preaching, the Eucharist. But this year, all of that was kind of taken away from us. And it was taken away so quickly without any time for us to really prepare for it. I know that it's been sad and confusing and frustrating that we haven't been in the chapel or the fellowship hall since March. But I don't know how to tell you how proud I am to belong to a community like Roseland, who has responded to this pandemic in the way that we have. It has been nothing short of amazing to see this church community sacrifice and lay itself down for the sake of its brothers and sisters by prioritizing the care of our church members and our surrounding community. It has been amazing to see the people of Roseland United Methodist Church come into such a difficult situation and say, we are still called to be the healing hands of Jesus in the world, and we will do whatever it takes to respond to that call. Now, that hasn't been easy, and I don't ever want to pretend that it has been easy. It's been hard for us to sacrifice what we've sacrificed this year, and it's not something that I'd ever be excited to do again someday. But we have done what we have done in the name of loving people with the love of Jesus Christ. We have done what we've done in the name of committing ourselves to discipleship. We have done what we've done because of what Jesus did for us. I feel like in most of my sermons, I'm always saying, Jesus calls us to sacrifice as he sacrificed. Jesus calls us to love as he loved. Jesus calls us to do what he did. And all that's true. But now that we've reached the end of this year, I look back and I feel like I've missed some opportunities to tell all of you, you are sacrificing as Jesus sacrificed. You are loving as he loved. You're doing what he did. Because that's what you've done this year by giving up going to church and sacrificing in-person worship. You've taken up your cross like Jesus did so that others might have life. And for that, I am immensely proud of each and every one of you. And I feel humbled to be your pastor. And so now we're at the end of 2020 and we're looking into 2021. And like I said earlier, it seems like we've got a little while longer of this kind of sacrificing ahead of us. And I don't want to gloss over the difficulty of it. It's been hard and it's going to continue to be hard. But I do want to urge each of you on to fight the good fight, finish the race, and keep the faith, as Paul says in 2 Timothy 4. It's okay to look back on this year and recognize how difficult it's been. But we should also be encouraged because this year has proved that the community of Roseland United Methodist Church is resilient and can withstand many trials. This year has proven that Roseland UMC can be a beacon set on a hill, a light that is not hidden under a bushel basket. This year has proven that Roseland UMC can witness to the sacrificial love of Jesus even during a pandemic without in-person worship. Roseland UMC has shown that the proclamation of the gospel and the life of discipleship doesn't just stop because we aren't in the same building every Sunday morning. We have been a witness to our surrounding community that the grace of God goes with us into unmarked territory and that his love is the only power that can truly sustain us. So if you're looking into 2021 with some fear and trepidation about what may come, then that's okay. I am too. But God has been good to us this year. And we have no reason to believe that he's about to stop. And in fact, I think he may have something amazing in mind for us in 2021. So even as we might be feeling fear, we also have permission to feel some hope about what the Lord is going to work among us in the coming months. And that is ambiguous because it isn't 100% fear and it's not 100% joy. But life and faith are just ambiguous. Jesus' own life was ambiguous. He ate and laughed and loved the people of Israel, but he wept for them, and they killed him. Ambiguity is okay, because what remains constant throughout all of it is the love that Christ has for his church. It's the body and the blood that is shed for the forgiveness of our sins and for our life everlasting. He is what we cling to in the midst of ambiguity. That has served us really well in 2020. So let's do the same thing in 2021. I love you all so much. I don't know what I did to deserve being appointed as Roseland UMC's pastor for my first appointment, but I thank God every single day for the love that he has poured out on me through each and every one of you. So before I start crying, Miss June is going to play a song for us to end our worship video this week. And I promise you next week that I will have a real sermon. But this week, I just wanted to talk to you all directly and tell you that I'm proud of you and I appreciate you and you have loved me well and that we are going to be okay because the Lord has been with us from the very beginning of all of this, all the way up to this moment. And he has no intention of leaving at any point. So you all have a blessed day and a very Merry Christmas.